The first year of President Bola Tinubu's administration has seen progress in a number of sectors. That's down to the hard work of the government's ministers. Here is 10 who believe deserve to be highlighted for the impact their work has had on public life. We begin with the Coordinating Minister of the Economy and Finance, Wale Edum. He's worked to unify the exchange rate on the naira, provided money for 15 million poor and vulnerable households, and tried to rein in soaring food prices by releasing tens of thousands of tons of grain from the government reserves.
In the area of inclusivity, we will measure literacy rates, measure out-of-school children, and see how successful the trend in increasing literacy, in reducing out-of-school children is, and so on and so forth. Measures will be put in place for security, for rule of law, anti-corruption, and likewise, for the other metrics, there will be measures that allow Nigerians to check how well the administration is doing. In terms of how to get to where Mr. President is going to take us, the key is to increase revenues so that government has enough funding to carry out its obligations and to stabilize the economy as a whole.
It is clear that some actions have been taken, but those actions have not yielded the desired results that Nigerians expect. Inflation is still on a high increase. Purchasing power is still very low. People are still encountering a lot of economic hardship. And so, yes, while some of these actions are taken may have long-term effect, but in the short term, Nigerians are still suffering.
Up next is the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji Ojo. He took on the role during a time of passport backlogs and calls to change the country's visa policies. Tunji Ojo has digitized the passport application process and is working on making visas simpler to access.
Coming into the Ministry of Interior, as I always say, it's about sweet experience because this is a ministry that affects all Nigerians. This is a ministry that deals with citizenship integrity, that deals with internal security, and deals with the general well-being of Nigerians.
Now, you came in to lead a ministry which is known, which is perceived by many Nigerians, as a matter of fact, that every step you take is a bottleneck and a concurrent racketeering going on. And within a very short while, you became the darling of Nigerians. And many people call you the poster boy of this administration because of your performance, because they now have access due to your reform in the visa policy and also the passport policy. Could you share this experience with us?
Well, it's about focus, it's about vision, and it's about understanding that once we leave here, as I always say, we'll go back to the society. And when we get back into the society, whatever action, we'll have to live with whatever actions that we had here. Like for instance, in the area of in the immigration service, for example, I'll use immigration as an example. When we came on board, we did an analysis, what I call a gap analysis, performance gap analysis of the agency, and I saw that it was absolutely unacceptable for Nigerians to wait for months before getting their international passport. If you can afford it and you are in Nigeria, it's a right, it's not a privilege. We must start to understand what rights are, what privileges are. It's your right, once you can afford it. And I believe if you are paying for service, you should not be made to struggle and to suffer for a service that you are paying for. So at the end, even the one you are not paying for, that is the statutory responsibility of government, should be available, to Nigerians. So when we came on board, we met a passport backlog of about 204,000, which I thought was just, unacceptable, and within 2.5 weeks, less than 3 weeks, we cleared that with the help of God, the same set of people, and of course with the same technology, we were able to clear that. Then that led to the automation of the process, which is presently ongoing, because we're doing it in phases.
If there's one minister that you must celebrate, and you can clearly see the impact of his work, is the Minister of Interior, and you give it to the president for appointing or placing a round peg, in a round hole, because he came with so much vision, so much energy, and he's brought fresh breath, into be it our immigrations, our correctional services, like you talk about passports. That is one minister that is a star boy of the Tinubu administration.
Our next focus is the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi. He came on board after overseeing an infrastructural revolution in Ebonyi State with the completion of major road networks across the state. Umahi was tasked with bringing the nation's infrastructure up to standard in the hopes it will help stimulate the economy. The Lagos-Calabar Highway is just one of the projects he's involved in, but it has been controversial with allegations of corruption and lack of due process.
We've done a lot of, milestone completion, but we cannot ask you, even if it is 98% done, we cannot ask the president to commission it.
Now, many people see you as a very audacious man, a performer, and the voices on the streets would call you an action man. But sometimes many people also feel that when you look at your strategy, that sometimes you may not get it right. Talking in terms of the environmental impact assessments of the Lagos-Calabar Highway project, could you shed more light on this?
There's no controversy about ESIA on the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. On 28th of December 2023, we got approval from Ministry of Environment to commence clearing, along the coastal highway. Every project that is in an infrastructure is subject to change at any point in time. So you cannot have single procurement of ESIA and it says it's going to last you all through the project. No. Even without conceding, we have the first section of about 47.47 kilometers running to the deep sea high port. That's an evacuation corridor for that deep sea high port. So, God forbid, supposing the project stops there, it means that you can evacuate your goods from the deep sea port through the Ahmad Bello Way. That is a huge plus. Now, let us also take the second section that is running from that deep sea port to the border between Ogun and the Ondo State. That's another, corridor. And nobody will say it's not viable.
One minister that came with a lot of expectations, but he's been underwhelming. Underwhelming because some of the projects that have been initiated, and at first, you must note that when it comes to works and infrastructure, they actually take a lot of time because of the processes that are involved. But if you look at some of the actions and some of the projects that have come under public scrutiny, is the Lagos-Calabar coastal line and the whole management of the process. And though there are several questions around whether there's been an environmental impact assessment report, whether that report is accessible to the people. You saw there was a town hall, the way the town hall was managed, and they're fundamental questions. And I would say he's been underwhelming so far.
Next is the Aviation and Aerospace Development Minister, Festus Keyamo. He's reformed the aviation sector, leading to a price war among airline operators, cutting costs for passengers while taking up airport renovations and ensuring strict safety regulations.
My first objective is to raise our safety standards to the point that we can score as much as South Africa and some other countries in the world. The second one, of course, will be to improve our infrastructure in Nigeria. That has so many subheads, but we are coming to that. But that is the second objective.
Nigerians were beginning to have a kind of challenging situation when you look at the situation of the sector coming under threat of investment and people traveling, because Nigerians love to travel. And you were able to step in with the support of Air Peace, bringing down the price rates to the London routes. Could you shed more light on this?
Well, it had been a thorny issue before I came. And I felt that when we looked at it, we said, look, we only have to attack this issue by three main ways. One is to empower our local operators. to challenge on those routes. And by empowering them, we meant supporting them, not even leaving them to go and negotiate these BASAs themselves. Government needed to come in to show them, look, these are our flag carriers. We didn't want them to present them to the world as local businesses within Nigeria. No, we felt that we needed to present them as our flag carriers. And so that's what we did with Air Peace. We felt that that was what's going to force down the prices. One of the issues on our side, on my side, we needed to be firm, we needed to be decisive, we needed to be hard. Because this thing had been going on 7 years before I came to office and they couldn't break through. So that, of course, was an immediate low-hanging fruit that we needed to pluck.
Quite impressed with some of the actions taken around reforming our aviation sector. You can clearly see, you've just mentioned the Air Peace London to Lagos route, and now we're going to have the Abuja Lagos route. And you could hear, Onyema, the CEO of Air Peace, actually talk about how the Minister of Aviation and the federal government supported, Air Peace towards achieving this feat. You also see how whether our airspace has become safer. We've seen actions taken by the minister to keep our airspace safe.
The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, he was faced with the task of selling the president's renewed hope agenda to Nigerians. His efforts have been widely applauded, but with food prices spiraling, Nigerians are looking for more concrete action.
From the day that he assumed office, fuel subsidy was gone. It was gone for good. Not many took it lightly. You recall that in the last 20 years, we have been grappling with this issue of taking out fuel subsidy from our lives. You can't operate an economy where the bulk of your revenue is ending up in the private pockets of only a few people.
Could you look into the camera and tell Nigerians that in the next nearest future, Nigerians are going to experience a better Nigeria by all standards?
Whenever you see Nigerians, you see hope, you see determination, you see resilience in them. And so Nigerians have come to understand the policies that President Bola Tinubu is putting together for them. And all of us desire to reach a prosperous destination, a destination of a very prosperous and promising Nigeria, and all of us are going there. So I want to say that Nigerians believe in this administration, even when you have some people who are still wondering where it is going. If you look at the policies that President Bola Tinubu is putting together, it is those policies that will ensure that Nigeria becomes more united, Nigeria becomes more prosperous, Nigeria becomes one of the best countries on the face of earth. I think we are going there.
He has been, very tempered. There isn't any stint of arrogance in his communications with the Nigerian people, so you need to give it to him. He's also done very well with communicating government initiatives. We've seen, decentralized activities at different states just to showcase government's efforts. To a large extent, we've also seen some measure of responsiveness.
The Minister of Communications, Innovations and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, he's been busy expanding broadband access across Nigeria. He's aiming for 70% penetration by 2025, allowing 90% of Nigerians to have access to the internet as part of the country's digital revolution.
Nigeria has been on this journey. As you know, the startup ecosystem in Nigeria is one of the best on the African continent. Technology use in government in Nigeria is been there. Of course, one thing to note is that it's been done in silos. But Nigeria is actually extensively invested in and used technology in government, but it's been done in silo as against a whole of government approach. And in terms of connectivity, the goal for us to be able to deliver good quality internet access to our people, regardless of where they find themselves in Nigeria, on top of which businesses can be done. Historically, the private sector has invested into about 35,000 kilometers, which means we have a shortage of about 90,000 thereabout. I think what we needed to do is 125,000 kilometers.
I reckon you have just 1.5 years to hit the 2025 target. And when we consider the fact that when you get into the office, the economy was at the doldrums and people are looking up to you to provide that viable alternative as a bailout for the country. I want you to look into the camera now and tell Nigerians to promise them that you will be leaving an enduring legacy that will place Nigeria as one of the technological giants in the world before leaving office.
That's what we've recognized. That's why we're not taking the traditional approach to building up this fiber network. That's why we've created a special purpose vehicle, which government is not going to control. It will be controlled by its own board. It will be managed by some of the best professionals in the world. And it will have a board that is also quite ambitious as well. We're looking at people in Nigeria that have built things before, people that have been able to build significant infrastructure and organizations for the country.
Another round peg, in a round hole. And he came in, articulated his strategy. You can clearly see some of the initiatives that he has brought to bear. You look at the 3 million TT program. You look at the current effort to articulate a national strategy on artificial intelligence. You look at, just recently there was an announcement that there's a startup unit established in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. You clearly see action taken. He's created a lot in just a short time, created opportunities for a lot of young people who are energetic, who are innovative.
Our next cabinet member is the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake. He is the unenviable task of taking Nigeria from an oil-dependent economy into one which can rely on other sources of revenue for the land. Nigeria is rich in mineral resources, and Alake has been busy attracting investment into the sector and also putting in place measures to end illegal mining.
Today, now, a lot of people, a lot of companies, corporate bodies are coming up and getting into the sector, which was our original aim. The second item on that agenda, very critical, is what you just mentioned: insecurity associated with minerals, especially via the illegal mining operations and activities across the country.
Could you shed light on how you've been able to tackle and fight this war against illegal mining operations in the country?
It's an aggressive marketing of this sector, both here and abroad, and we've done that remarkably, achieving results. We've been successful in diverting attention of our nation and international attention onto our solid minerals. Today, now, a lot of people, a lot of companies, corporate bodies are coming up and getting into the sector, which was our original aim. The second item on that agenda, very critical, is what you just mentioned: insecurity associated with minerals, especially via the illegal mining operations and activities across the country. And I did say that we were going to tackle it, and we've been doing that. When I made representations to the President on this issue, I wasn't alone. The Minister of Environment did, the Minister of Marine Economy did, and the President established an interministerial committee on securing our natural resources. Don't forget that the minerals, the forest reserves and resources like timber, like wood and all of that, are all in the forests, and then the marine economy. So the interministerial committee was saddled with the responsibility of creating a new security architecture to confront illegalities and insecurities in these sectors.
Yes, you see a couple of actions, things around licensing for miners. You also see that strategy, that interagency collaboration to secure our mines. But I would say that for Dele Alake, I think he looks promising, but at the moment he's not met, those sort of high expectations that people did have when he came into office.
The Industries, Trade and Investment Minister, Doris Anite, she was faced with addressing the ease of doing business in Nigeria and encouraging investors. She has embarked on global tours to attract investment into the country, while also simplifying the process by going digital.
When your cost of doing business or the cost of producing a good is higher, than the cost of a good that's produced outside your country. Traders, arbitrage will happen. So you will see people who will take opportunity, who will take advantage of the opportunity that's been created to import, to take advantage of the price differential.
So now let's look at the task of the ease of doing business, removing all the bottlenecks in trade for small scale and medium enterprises and even the larger ones to thrive. What have been the reforms you've brought in this area?
In every country we went to, we met with a lot of investors. The questions they asked the Mr. President answered all of them. So we had business forum, engaged with investors, answered their question, and provided the solutions and the direction of travel for the economy. And as you can see, the price of goods are coming down, FX is stabilizing, and thanks also to the monetary policy of the central bank, they came in to sanitize the banking sector. And of course, the capitalization, mention of the capitalization, inflation is moderating, and we are seeing now the effect of the reform that the president instituted from the first day in office. So, things take time to stabilize. It's like stirring water in a pond. It settles, and when it settles, then you can fetch the clean water. And so now we are settling. Now we are now ready to take advantage of the reforms and the policies, multiple policies and reforms that have been laid down to then jumpstart the economy.
When you talk about the ease of doing business, first, how are businesses thriving when it comes to issues around incorporation? You have the CAC and the document, access to capital. Yes, you have the Bank of Industry that provides, funding to support businesses. You have SMIDAN, which is headed by a young person who has a lot of capacity and has very good credentials and can transform that particular space. But then, are we promoting, our own locally produced goods?
Nigeria is a country that loves sport, and Sports Minister John Eno has been busy making sure the nation's athletes are looked after. He's been paying the outstanding allowances from the AFCON tournament and the All-African Games, and is working to attract more money into the Nigeria sports circle. We are right here at the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, and our next person in focus is the Honorable Minister of Sports Development, Senator John Owan Eno. Let's find out why this man, who suddenly became so passionate in moving Nigeria's sports sector forward on his assumption of office, let's find out why he moved his office from the Federal Secretariat to the main bowl of the National Stadium here. You can see the ambience of the National Stadium. Let me indulge you with an exclusive chat with the Honorable Minister of Sports Development on how he's been able to record his achievement in a race against time, talking about an intensely active sports year.
You must have also seen the last couple of weeks, I've had some photo ops with, the likes of Tony Lumelu and co, and I'm continuing. Why am I doing so? Our local league challenges me, especially because the particular state of that league is such that the country is not able to retain its sporting and football assets.
So, talking about development now, there seems to be a long, drawn jinx thinking about the exploits our youth make at the lower levels of international competitions. But there seems to be a disconnect when they get to the big stage. So what are you doing to develop our grassroots sports and also the local leagues within the country?
Young people who grow up, you are 14, 15, you just learn how to kick a football. The next thing is that you are traveling to a neighboring country or a further country. What is responsible for that? So we are driven now by the need and the challenge to capitalize our football league. What is making our footballers to leave? Right? Can we set a benchmark? If it's about their welfare and how much they are being paid, can we do capitalization such that you need to get to a kind of threshold before you can play in any of the leagues, whether it is the Premier League, whether it is the Nationwide League, whether it is the NNL, all of that. We're trying to put that in place because we need to get to a point and get a structure and a system that in itself encourages Nigerians and motivates them to begin to give more attention to our local league and our local football.
You see government actually demonstrating that it supports sports and sports development. I think that, again, he's one promising minister, but there's a great deal of work that needs to be done.
Our next focus is the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. After a performance in Rivers State that earned him the nickname Mr. Project, he immediately swung into action, embarking on construction and repair of roads. But he has faced criticisms after the demolition of the homes where residents were left without any compensation. His involvement in political battles in Rivers State is also seen by many as a distraction from his duties in the FCT.
As I speak to you today, all the area councils can attest the fact that before December this year, we are going to commission not less than 120 kilometers of roads in these 6 area councils.
Wike has really performed with regards to infrastructural development. If you go across the FCT, you clearly see, an effort, and you clearly see leadership in trying to build FCT to fit with the dream of our forefathers.
With 3 years left of the Tinubu's administration, is there enough political will, mandates, and resources to make a difference in Nigeria? The actions in these coming years will write the history books for the Tinubu's government. I'm Benga Ashiri. Bye for now.